So John, take it away. What happened last night?
Well, first of all, and you bring up really good points, and these are all major points having to do with this overall story, and really the messaging scandal and the subsequent resignation of Governor Ricardo Rossello. It was a trigger for an overall anger and resentment having to do with corruption problems within the administration, within the government, the beleaguered economy, a bankrupt economy, calls for education reform, social reform. All these things fit together. So this scandal was just a trigger to an overall anger. So I'm really glad that you touched on that. As far as what's going the here and now, Rick, we are standing outside the governor's mansion, which is down here. And in fact, take a walk with me. I'll kind of set the scene for you. There remains a celebratory atmosphere. Come on, Ian, walk with me. A celebratory atmosphere and mood here in San Juan after the governor announced late last night, Wednesday night, that he was going to resign. It will be official next week, August 2nd. So that's what all the thousands of people for the last 2 weeks with the almost daily protests and demonstrations have been demanding, that he resign in the wake of that scandal, in the wake of allegations of the corruption. This area really was packed last night. You saw that. It was the culmination of that. Today, it's a little more, you could say there's people still here, Rick. They're still, talking about our voices were heard and that kind of thing. It's not as intense, but nonetheless, the Puerto Ricans that we've talked to, the folks here say that their voices were heard and they believe this is a step in the right direction for a better Puerto Rico. But therein lies the question, what does that look like? Does that mean, and remember, this is a country that's still divided about two big questions. Should it be a 51st state in the U.S. or should it be an independent country? So that remains a major question as well. And then going forward, getting corrupt officials out of office, education reform, all the things that I mentioned previously. And then the final big question, what happens now, Rick? There's a lot of negotiations going on behind the scenes, as if you imagine, probably horse trading. Who's going to take over? Usually it would be second in command, the Secretary of State. Well, guess what? There ain't a Secretary of State. He resigned as well, along with a lot of other officials. So the third in line would be the Secretary of Justice, a woman named Wanda Vasquez, who's been dogged by corruption allegations herself. So that would open a whole other can of worms. So at this point, I think it's suffice to say, Rick, that while this may be a step forward, it's one step in probably a long, arduous journey ahead, Rick.
Enjoy the celebration, Puerto Rico, but when you wake up in the morning, you've got some serious work to do because this problem is still not solved. Great reporting, John Huddy. We thank you for that. So you haven't heard that we're the ones covering the stories that you won't see covered anywhere else? In Venezuela, Kazakhstan, let's go to Hong Kong. And the media reaction to that has been crickets. How about the way we cover those stories? What the hell does that mean? Wale. That's the key word in this case, uprising. Can you believe that? Watching. This is the right thing for members of the media to do, to actually pick sides. Look, if you like what you see, subscribe.